We're following breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ, where Carlo Ancelotti is set to return as manager of Real Madrid. Our CBS Sports soccer insider Fabrizio Romano tweeting out today that agreement on the termination of his contract with Everton set to be completed, and the two clubs in direct contact, and Carlo Ancelotti will then rejoin Real Madrid. His first stint was successful, 2013 to 2015, including a Champions League title in 2014, but he was sacked after one season without trophies, and from there he went to Bayern Munich, Napoli, Everton, and back to La Liga with the Spanish Giants. Carlo Ancelotti set to go from the Premier League to the Spanish Primera Division. And with more on the breaking news, let's welcome in the host of the Que Golazo podcast, Luis Miguel Echegaray. Luis, let me just start first on your thoughts and reaction to Real Madrid linking up again with Carlo Ancelotti.
Interesting news to me. I don't know how to react, Tommy, in this one. I think the first thing to discuss is maybe safety, stability, right? We know that Carlo Ancelotti now is not coming to Real Madrid. He is returning to Real Madrid, right? In his first stint, when he came in 2013, 2014, he took over Jose Mourinho. Zinedine Zidane actually became his assistant coach in that season, and a lot happened. A lot happened. It wasn't just about squad redevelopment, but it was also about formation redevelopment. And that season was really interesting because Real Madrid ended outside of the top two. It was the first time for a while, actually, that happened. But at the same time, he won Copa del Rey. He won the Champions League, the 10th Champions League title for Real Madrid. So I feel that Real Madrid's move here is less about adventure and more about stability. And I guess it repeats itself from Zinedine Zidane, something that they know. They know Ancelotti. They know his record, not just with Real Madrid, but also with, other clubs such as Bayern Munich, etc. So they know exactly what they're getting with him. And to me, the word that I'm thinking of is stability. They just want to calm things down. And this is Florentino Perez saying, listen, I just want things to go back to the way they used to be. Obviously, it's a different modern era, it's a different game, but Carlo Ancelotti remains one of the best managers out there. And I think it's just about stabling the ship.
So for Real Madrid, a Champions League semifinal appearance with loss to eventual champions Chelsea, second place finish in La Liga. But this is Real Madrid. They are the Yankees of soccer. They are the Patriots or Cowboys of soccer. And so the expectations are sky high. Given the fact that Ancelotti has a relationship with this club, what are the expectations going to be for him walking in the door?
Well, I think the first thing is to calm the nerves of the big players, right? Karim Benzema, for example, Sergio Ramos, we still have to wait and see what happens there. Thibaut Courtois, even in goal. This is about a manager that can enter a squad and commands respect straight away. So I think immediately that's going to help. Also, let's not forget that in 2013, 2014, that was also the season where Gonzalo Higuain left the club, right? So they brought in Gareth Bale for that record fee in that moment. Isco was also brought in. Cristiano Ronaldo was still there as well, of course. So we'll see what happens with that. I think that's really interesting, by the way, that narrative. Could Cristiano Ronaldo return maybe if he's not satisfied with Juventus? We will see what happens there. But I think that the first thing he'll do is he'll calm the squad down. He'll say, listen, we didn't do well here. We didn't win the league, of course. We didn't win the Champions League. We didn't win anything, actually, right? But at the same time, I think it's about reestablishing what you can do. And the other thing is, I think he's going to completely retransform the tactics, the formation. When he arrived in 2013, 2014, he deviated from the 4-2-3-1 and he went to a 4-3-3. And I think he's going to look at Hazard and Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo and, of course, the great Karim Benzema and Luka Modric, who just signed a new contract as well, Casemiro. And he's going to relook at the squad and see, okay, what do we need? Does this help in terms of getting those big targets this summer? I don't know, because it's not like Real Madrid is exactly in a Galactico situation. He's going to need to really think about who he wants. Will James Rodriguez leave Everton to go to Real Madrid? Who knows? But I think that it's about stabling the ship, right? Making the squad feel confident again, and finally being the target manager to try and get, some big stars. We'll see what happens in the summer, that's for sure.
You bring up some great points, but let me follow up to what you said about Carlo Ancelotti and sort of that diamond formation that he had with Milan and then transferring out there recently. How different tactically is a Ancelotti to a Zidane?
You know what? It's actually I'm not going to say that they're very similar because they're not, but we have to remember that both of these men have a very, very deep history with each other. As I mentioned, Zinedine Zidane was Ancelotti's assistant when he was there. So they know each other well. They know this club well. I think that one of the most important things is that Zinedine Zidane never wanted to be a reactive manager. He never wanted Real Madrid to sort of counter all the time and react to the opponent. And I think that towards the end of the season, we saw that definitely in the Champions League. And I think Carlo Ancelotti, what he's going to do is he's going to give them a stable midfield. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't, if they don't get somebody in the midfield this summer. And listen, he wants a target man. Karim Benzema is obviously the one, but I think there's more tools that can be used here. And hopefully revitalize Eden Hazard if he doesn't leave. So I think that's one thing. But in terms of the formation itself, I don't think you're going to see too many, different crazy ideas. Like you said, there's a diamond, there's a 4-3-3. Right, we actually are seeing it with Everton as well, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin on one side and then being supported, of course, by Richarlison, etc. But I think that the key thing here, and this is the most important thing, is to be strong at the back. And that's where Real Madrid really need to figure themselves out. David Alaba, of course, to Real Madrid is going to be a huge thing. We'll see what happens with Sergio Ramos. He needs to figure out Marcelo getting older, of course, so there's a different mentality in the fullback situation. But at the back is where he's really going to want to make sure, listen, we're not going to give silly goals away. He's going to say, listen, losing to Shakhtar Donetsk twice in the Champions League is an absolute joke for Real Madrid. And I don't think that's going to ever happen. So that's the kind of mentality and confidence that Ancelotti can bring to Los Blancos.
So what would the wish list be? You mentioned Sergio Ramos and Marcelo not getting any younger, attacking, or at least taking a look at that back line. Who would be on the wish list for this summer there, Luis?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he, really takes a look at, the targets in the Premier League, specifically the club that he just left in Everton. Maybe there's something that he can pick up there, right? I mean, listen, I could give you a big, Angel Di Maria for PSG. Is he really happy there in France? Could he bring him back, right? Kylian Mbappe to me is a major one. Can they do that? Can they make that happen? Can Kylian Mbappe, who's still not sure, who still hasn't signed on the dotted line with his PSG future, can you imagine that? Especially now with Karim Benzema and Kylian Mbappe getting closer and closer as they warm up for the Euros. That's a major point. And at the back, I think with Alaba coming in really, really helps. But I think they need somebody else. And I don't exactly know whether he's going to look at the French market or the Spanish market or even, of course, the Italian market. But I think that he needs to protect the back line. He needs to have somebody else that can support Karim Benzema because Karim can do it all by himself. So I don't know if they're going to go all out on somebody like a Kylian Mbappe, somebody like that, or will they try and sort of bring up about 3 or 4 additional players that not necessarily are huge, gigantic star market fees, but enough to contain and solidify this squad. I mean, it's going to be super interesting to see what he can do. And again, I bring this back. Carlo Ancelotti is respected by everybody. So if you get a phone call from Carlo Ancelotti and says, I want you for this team, now the chances have increased.
Very interesting. We know that they want to be fiscally responsible, especially post-COVID. We're still actually in a global pandemic, but as you mentioned, the name and the moniker of Carlo Ancelotti with Real Madrid, who could say no? Let's end here with his now old team in Everton. They were one of the surprises early in the year, flirting with Champions League, even with European competition. They finished 10th, Luis. So where does Everton and the Toffees go from here?
I don't know, but this is tough for Everton because Everton were finally looking very good. We have to remember that before Ancelotti came in, Everton were a team that were basically, well, they weren't basically, they were fighting to stay in the league in the first place. And just like I mentioned, he became, Carlo Ancelotti became that stable ship, that force that allowed Everton to almost, I had them tipped to go to the Champions League. Obviously, it didn't happen, but, they did well enough to be in the top half of the table. So now they have to look at it. Listen, there's a lot of good managers, especially in England, that can really help out. But if I was Everton, honestly, I would look at Diego Martinez from Granada, who left Granada, a tremendous club, a tremendous manager who helped them reach La Liga and the Euros and the Europa League in the first season. So I think that I would look outside of the box. Carlo Ancelotti arriving to Everton was an incredible surprise anyway. So will they shock us once again and get us another big name? Can they get Antonio Conte? I wonder. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that once again, Everton need a manager that can make them feel confident, stable, and hopefully reach higher than a top half finish. But it's dangerous times now for Everton, because picking who their next boss is going to be the most important decision this summer for them.
And whoever that boss is going to be, at least we'll have probably Moise Kean coming back from PSG. It'll be interesting to see how that squad looks for the new manager. Our thanks to Luis Miguel Echegaray. I am sure this will be talked about on the Que Golazo podcast, LME, with his host of analysts, including our soccer insider Fabrizio Romano. Make sure you download and follow Luis every single day. It drops covering all things soccer. Download and follow wherever you download and consume your podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.